Breaking news out of the Miami Heat. Jimmy Butler is on his way to the Golden State Warriors.
What a difference one player makes. The Warriors are playing their best basketball in a long time, and a big reason why Jimmy Butler, he's had a huge impact on the team, in particular Steph Curry.
He's already projected a championship. He's already guaranteed it. They think they can get more than that with this guy in the lineup.
Sometimes things happen because they have to. The Golden State Warriors and Jimmy Butler found themselves in a situation where they needed each other. Both were running out of time and options. This trade wasn't just about moving players. It was about saving the last good years of a few great careers. Jimmy Butler, a fierce competitor who had carried teams before, is now on the Warriors. In exchange, Golden State gave up Andrew Wiggins, Kyle Anderson, and a protected first-round pick. Butler was always the main man for his teams, but is now adjusting to fit into a system built around Stephen Curry, the greatest shooter in NBA history. But this trade was more than just a roster move. It signals a major shift for both teams. The Warriors are now making one last push to win another championship, while the Miami Heat are moving on from the Butler era, hoping to rebuild. For years, the Warriors tried to balance winning now while developing young players for the future. It didn't work. After Kevin Durant left in 2019, they won another championship in 2022, but since then, they have really struggled. In the NBA, you're either in or you're out. When you have a once-in-a-generation talent, you can't be hesitant. Sure, it's smart to save draft picks and other assets for the right moment, but if your team is already aging, you have to use them at some point. Now, that doesn't mean you go to the extreme, like the Phoenix Suns, trading away every future draft pick just to chase any available star. But with a player as special as Curry, Golden State has been too passive for too long. Curry is still amazing, but at 36, well, he needed help. The Warriors' offense had dropped to 19th in the league at one point, meaning they were not scoring enough points to compete with the best teams. Defenses focused on stopping Curry, and without another strong scorer, the team really struggled. But that's where Butler has come in. He's creating his own shot, playing tough defense, and bringing the fight that Golden State needs. But there has been a risk with the move. Butler is not a great three-point shooter, and he's had injury problems in recent years. On top of that, the Warriors gave up their best perimeter defender in Andrew Wiggins in exchange for a guy who is a significantly worse three-point shooter. Still though, the Warriors didn't have that many options. They had already tried and failed to trade for stars like Paul George before he went to the Sixers, and even bringing back Kevin Durant. Butler was the best available player on the market. He's played well so far, and if he stays healthy and continues fitting into the system, he can make the Warriors dangerous again. If not, then this trade might end up being a very costly mistake. But it was a risk that had to be taken. As much as Wiggins and anyone else on the roster is beloved, they have all been next to one of the best players in the NBA and still haven't been able to keep the Warriors from the clutches of the play-in tournament. Might as well see if Butler can change their fate. No matter the risk, the Warriors had to do something. They couldn't continue to just hang on to the final pieces of their incredible dynasty while also waiting for young players to turn into stars. They also couldn't keep blaming other circumstances for their lack of action and upgrading the team. When a player like Luka is being traded, anything is possible. Golden State are now committed to Butler long term, signing him to a 2-year, $112 million extension. This means Butler, Curry, and Draymond Green all have contracts that end around the same time, signaling that the Warriors are fully committed to this core for the next few years. While the Warriors made this move out of urgency, the Heat were forced to trade Butler because they waited too long. For over a year, there were signs that Butler and Miami were not on the same page. He wanted a contract extension, but the team wasn't sure about giving him a long-term deal. Instead of trading him earlier, they waited, hoping he would lead them to another finals run. That didn't happen. By the time they finally traded him, Butler's value had dropped. He was older, had injury concerns, and some teams worried about his strong personality. As a result, Miami didn't get a superstar in return. They got Wiggins, who is a solid player, but not a game changer. Now the Heat find themselves in an awkward spot. They still have Bam Adebayo and Tyler Hero, but they're not quite a championship team anymore. Their best chance to improve is to wait for 2026 when they can go after a big free agent. For the Warriors, this was about making the most of Curry's final years. He is way too good for them to waste time rebuilding. They need to go all in now. If Butler stays healthy and continues complementing Steph Curry's playstyle, the Warriors could be a real threat in the playoffs. The two players could not be more opposite from each other, yet that sometimes works on the basketball court. Curry is this calm dude who does all of his damage from the perimeter. Meanwhile, Jimmy is this fiery, aggressive guy who does most of his work in the free throw and mid-range area. Butler is a player who spent the last decade as the face of the franchise he was at. He's someone that can create his own shot, take over games. Curry hasn't had a player this good next to him since 2019. They might not be the perfect fit, but they bring out the best in each other. The Warriors needed another scorer, and Butler, well, he needed a fresh start. They ended up replacing Wiggins, a solid but inconsistent 3-and-D wing, with Butler, a player who thrives in high-pressure situations. We live in a time period where everyone has a ring or bust mentality, but what Jimmy did on those Miami Heat teams was incredible. Nobody ever thought the Heat were contenders, yet they made it to multiple NBA finals. And it was pretty much down to Jimmy Butler. He had so many incredible moments, being clutch, scoring when his team needed him the most, defending the top level players. When Jimmy is on his A game, he's one of the best two-way players in the league. His name is now among other phenomenal Heat players like Dwayne Wade and LeBron James. No matter what you think of him, you can't deny that Jimmy is a winner. Even Steph Curry agrees. The concern, of course, is Butler's age and his playing style. He's not a three-point shooter, which has always been an important part of the Warriors system. On the other hand, though, he brings something completely different: toughness, mid-range shooting, and an ability to get to the free throw line. We already saw it in the first few games. Curry has so much gravity that it attracts all the attention to him, leaving Butler with tons of open space to either pass out or finish the ball himself. I bet Butler can't imagine just how much space he has to operate in because he's playing with Steph Curry. What's great about Jimmy is that his decision making and passing are also fantastic. So now when Curry and Butler run a pick and roll, it's practically unstoppable. Either the two players try and blitz Curry, which leaves Butler wide open, in which case he can do whatever he wants, or it creates a mismatch opportunity, which again allows Jimmy Butler or Curry, whichever one of them has the ball, to absolutely go bananas. Butler's leadership and experience are also super valuable. The head coach of the Warriors, Steve Kerr, had already spoken about the emotional impact of losing someone like Wiggins, but acknowledged the need for a player like Butler. Kerr had a tough meeting with the team after the trade, with Kevon Looney saying it was one of the most emotional team meetings he's ever experienced. This team needed another player with grit and a winning mentality, and that's exactly what Jimmy Butler brings. Draymond Green has the same type of attitude, but let's just say there's a lower chance of Butler getting thrown out of a game. Curry wasted no time welcoming Jimmy. At halftime of a game against the Jazz, he texted Butler, and the two started discussing the move. Curry had been aware of the trade discussions but did not interfere, letting the front office handle it. Maybe he should start acting like le GM. For Butler, this is a chance to prove that he still belongs among the best. Some people think he's past his prime or too difficult to deal with. If he thrives in Golden State, he can prove his doubters wrong. For Miami, this trade was about moving forward. They've lost Butler, but they still have good players. Now they must decide whether to keep building with what they have or make another big move soon. In many ways, the trade is a gamble for both sides. Golden State is hoping that Butler will bring new life to their team. They are hoping that he can still prove he's a top player. Meanwhile, Miami is hoping that they can rebuild into a contender again, even though they pretty much had to send Jimmy away. Maybe the Warriors and Butler will find the magic they need to make another deep playoff run. Maybe this was the opportunity that the Heat needed to create a better team in the future. Or maybe this trade won't work for anyone. No matter what happens next, one thing is clear: Golden State wasn't ready to give up yet. And for a team that has built its success on never backing down, this might be their best shot at glory.